Yep, that's all you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I'm pinkies.
Oh,
Pinkies.
yes. Oh, yes.
I'm
Oh,
pinkies.
26.
More.
Yes.
More, all you.
Ah.
All you.
Oh, yeah.
Pinkies.
Right, dude. Oh, man, that was all.
Sad.
Dude, thanks for the spot, dude. I didn't need it. I had it all myself, yeah. It's chest week. I had that all on my own. Mark's gonna dive in.
All right, this week, looking at the muscle of the chest. Two muscles, pec minor, pec major. Pec minor, going to originate on ribs 3 through 5, kind of the chest, rib cartilage area. It's gonna come up to our coracoid process of our shoulder, scapula. So what that's gonna do is it's going to protract our scap, it's gonna stabilize it, kind of help lower the scap, put it on our rib cage. Then we have pec major, that's gonna be our workhorse. Pec major is gonna originate clavicle, chest, just kind of wrap around all this way. It's gonna insert on our bicipital groove of our humerus. And like I said, this is our workhorse. It's gonna perform all of our movements. So we have adduction, so bringing our arm in, internal rotation, and it's also gonna help with horizontal adduction as well as flexion of the shoulder. Important thing to note with these muscle fibers, because they kind of originate in all these different spots on our chest, their muscle fibers are going in different directions, which allows us to do a couple different movements that are really important when we talk about our lifts. So, you know, if it can bring us up and over for kind of that incline bench, straight adduction for flat bench, and then bringing us straight up for a dip or something like that. So again, important to just notice the direction of these muscle fibers, working them, keeping muscle balance between them.
Good, so why as an athlete should we really care about these chest muscles? And Mark talked about the actions of the chest muscle. So it's adduction and internal rotation. So where does that put our shoulders? Adducted, internally rotated, and we're in the position that we talk about all the time, not wanting to be in. So why do we want to work these muscles? And this is exactly kind of the point that we want to talk about here is most people are bench pressing, most people are using their front side. Remember, the front's for go, not for show, way too much. And we're shortening these muscles and putting ourselves in these bad positions while we're sitting in them 24/7. There are some good things about these muscles, and we'll cover them later, but really, if we are looking at our programming, again, going back to back week, we need to have a 3-to-1 or just a higher repetitions of that back compared to that front side. Now the good, central nervous system priming. Charlie Francis was great about this with all of his athletes, but it's a way to prime that central nervous system and to get that central nervous system loaded without loading your legs. So as athletes, field sport athletes, a lot of stuff we do is already leg-based. We're cutting, we're running, we're sprinting, we're jumping. How can we load that central nervous system and get that power throughout our system without loading our legs? And the bench press is a really good exercise for that. So Charlie Francis, if you want to check him out, he has a lot of good stuff on that. Second, if you're a meathead, you're going to be asked how much do you bench, and you're going to want to have a big sweet chest. So we're going to cover that later, but really, again, making sure we're taking that backside before we're attacking the front side. Good, so we talked about the attachments, insertions, we talked about the importance of sports and life, and we also talked about not wanting to use that front side too much. And Mark's going to dive into why we don't want to use that front side too much.
Yeah, so perfect lead in, like Austin's saying, we want to make sure we have a good balance between our back and our chest. First things first, if we're overworking the chest and there's a muscular imbalance, like we talked about in previous videos, we're pulling our shoulders forward into that poor positioning, bad biomechanics, kind of that upper cross syndrome. That's going to just lead to more problems down the chain. From the injury standpoint, we're really looking at two things. We have chronic and acute injuries. So chronic injuries, that's going to be our wear and tear, really looking at those pec tendons. Wear and tear injuries, overuse. If we have poor biomechanics, poor form in a lot of our lifts, we're putting a ton of extra stress on these tendons. And another thing we're doing is we're using rotator cuff muscles, other muscles that aren't meant to carry the load to kind of help us out in some of that poor form. So that can definitely lead to injuries. We want to make sure we're biomechanically efficient, good form, and we're bouncing out front and back. And the second one, acute injuries, kind of rare, but important to touch on. So got to make sure we're not lifting like idiots. First thing first, kind of that, we're talking about an acute injury, it's really just a muscle's inability to absorb a force. So if we're creating too much load, too much force on an outstretched muscle, we're really putting ourselves at a high risk of injury. So obviously the main thing is kind of that eccentric phase of the bench press. If we're dropping the bench down, we're not controlling it, we're putting a huge load on an outstretched muscle, going to lead to injury. And then one common one we see in sports, especially in football, is trying to tap somebody with an outstretched arm. Again, having that stretched muscle with a big load coming back, going to lead to injury. So we want to make sure we're efficient, good form, and training properly. Don't be dumb. Okay, so now that we talked about the importance of proper biomechanics, good form, how do we implement that into our training?
Yeah, so now we're gonna get to the controversial subject of this week. And most people, when they think chest, they think they're gonna bench a bunch of weight and they're gonna do a bunch of push-ups. Again, when we go over Mark's description of what the chest does, it internally rotates and 80 ducks. So when we talk about that, how are we doing that in the bench press or the push-up? We're not really using the chest a ton. It's more of a tricep exercise, which we'll cover in 2 weeks, so check us out there. But we're gonna go over the form on these two exercises anyways, because we know that's why you guys came to this video. So we're gonna start with the push-up here with Mark. Two things, push-up, bench press, very similar setups. One, you just have your back on a bench. One, you're pushing away from the ground. One, you're pushing away from a bar. So we're here, setup start, he's gonna have his glutes squeezed, he's gonna have his core tight. Thing we notice here, biggest flaw we see with push-ups is flaring of these elbows. We flare these elbows, we put a ton of pressure on these elbows and shoulders. What Mark's gonna do here is twist his hands into the ground, and we have our elbow pits. Just like our armpits, we got some elbow pits. They don't stink as bad, but they're facing forward. We're gonna keep them forward. That's gonna make us externally rotate on our way down. Mark's gonna slowly lower here, coming down. The last thing we wanna notice here is he's not shooting those elbows all the way back. We got a nice straight line here, which puts the force all the way through the ground, through that shoulder, and it transfers through the body, not through that elbow, which puts us in a really nice position here. This is very similar to the bench press. The only difference with the bench press is we're on a bar and we're pushing something away from the bar, away from us rather than us away from the ground. Biggest thing on the bench press is setting those scaps back and the lats back. Since we were laying on something, he's not laying on anything with that push-up. We need to set a back. We need to be able to push away from something. Again, a lot of back and a lot of triceps in that bench press, not a ton of chest. We're gonna cover some specialty exercises for the chest next. All right, so the part you guys have all been waiting for, you probably just skip the rest of the video to this part, the 4 exercises that we're gonna give you about that big, juicy, meaty chest. We'll start with the crush grip bench press here. Things we're covering here, we want adduction, we want internal rotation. How do we do that with a bench press? We just went over that the bench press isn't it. So we do crush grip, we come up, he's gonna push these dumbbells together as hard as possible. He's gonna squeeze that inner chest here, keeping that chest, keeping that chest, keeping that chest. Then he's gonna press all the way back up, just like that. Really gonna work that inner chest. We're really keeping a lot of tension with those adductors coming there. We're gonna come up, good. Next exercise we're gonna go over. We're gonna go over the chest fly here, just because we see a lot of meatheads cranking out their shoulders here, destroying their shoulders on the chest fly. We're gonna come up here with Mark. Don't have to use an exercise ball, but we ran out of benches, so we're using an exercise ball. Figure out, adjust, and go. We're gonna start in a good position here, internally rotated here, and then he's gonna open up into a better externally rotated shoulder stable position, and he's gonna close it off into that internal rotation. Again, here we're working adduction and we're working internal rotation, but at the bottom where we're most vulnerable, we're still getting that stretch, but we're not in that internally rotated shoulder position. Chest flies are something that I don't use a ton with my athletes or clients because a lot of people have bad internally rotation of the shoulders, so just be very careful with how much we program these. Next exercise we're gonna go into, lateral band bench press here. We're just gonna put this band around, yep, right there. All we're doing here, we're gonna keep a neutral grip with this bench press here. This band is gonna pull him out. Again, it's almost like that crush grip, it's just another variation. The band's pulling him out. He has to work that adduction in, activating that chest when we're pressing. Coming to 90, this is really good for a lot of people with shoulder issues. Again, coming to the 90 floor press, or even when you bench, just stopping at 90 with that shoulder, because it doesn't allow us to come in, but that shoulder keeps in a much more stable position. Mark's gonna show us our last exercise for the day. Mark's gonna go over our last exercise of the day, because I'm gonna show us the last exercise of the day.
All right, show it off. So if you're somebody that doesn't want to get under the bar, shoulder problems, you know, you're tired of getting under a load, ISOs are great way to train, get under a load in a safe, effective way. So I was thinking to drop down, get a couple dumbbells, and we're trying to get in that similar position as a push-up, right? So forearms flat, glutes engaged, flat back, head straight. And what we're able to do here in an isometric hold is just engage a lot of muscle fibers, a lot of muscle recruitment, and it's a safe, effective way to do it.
Good, so we went over some specialty exercises, but what if we have some shoulder pain? And we covered this in our shoulder video, but we're gonna re-go over it because we got Marcus who's killing the videos right now. But we got these douchebag shoulders. We're walking around, we're stuck in this position, got a ton of shoulder pain, but we're too big of a meathead to stop bench pressing. So how can we do, what are some mobility exercises we can use? We're gonna help open up SMR, these internal rotators, this chest right here. So he's gonna put this in here again. This was covered more in depth in the shoulder video, but he's just gonna spend some time here in this chest, open it up, free it up. You can pin that arm behind, you can open it through. Just getting some range of motion back in these, open up the fascial systems through here. Once this is opened up, I would suggest spending 2 minutes aside. Mark's gonna grab this band here, get a nice big chest stretch here. He's gonna externally rotate his hands in the sky right there. He's gonna come here and you just got a nice big stretch here. This is something that you guys can do before or after. It's gonna free up the shoulders, it's gonna free up that chest. If you guys aren't gonna fix your programs, at least take care of your body. These are some exercises you can do to do it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a great episode. I got this all by myself.